Welcome, Dr. Carmen Williams, the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction and Innovation in the Needham Public Schools, and Ms. Messina, our Director of Literacy. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm going to just jump right into it and begin. Dr. Williams, what is the science of reading?
Yes, what is the science of reading? It is not a curriculum, I will tell you that. The science of reading is actually the research that helps us understand how the brain learns. And so there are three really important parts of the brain that work together when we're reading. It's audio, it's visual, and it's meaning making. But that's not an innate, natural process. We have to learn how to coordinate those systems. And so the science of reading is a structured and systematic way for us to develop neural pathways in our brain so that we can make meaning of the letters and the words and the sounds that we see on the page or hear someone read aloud.
So you said something in there, reading, and I think I've read some of this myself, is not really a natural thing for a human being.
It is not.
You know, it's something you have to work at and engage your mind.
Yeah, you have to coordinate.
Yeah.
Synchronized swimming.
Okay.
Well, maybe not that. But.
I think it's kind of like that. Well, so if that's the science behind reading, and we have literacy instruction, specifically in grades K through 8, but the emphasis is at the elementary level. Lisa, what does literacy instruction look like in Needham's elementary schools?
Well, literacy instruction by nature has many components. So for the last number of years, we've been strengthening the area of foundational skills. Students are taught daily explicit systematic instruction in phonemic awareness in kindergarten and first grade. They are also taught explicit systematic phonics instruction in kindergarten through third grade. Students are screened 3 times a year for risk of reading struggles, particularly in foundational skills, in order to figure out what they need, whether they're progressing, and to make decisions about curriculum and instruction. This year, students also have an adaptive tool that we're using. In place of Lexia, we have something called Boost.
Now, Lexia is
the online adaptive program we used to use to support skill building, individualized skill building. And this year, we've switched over to Boost because it is connected to our DIBELS assessment. So it takes the information from our DIBELS assessment and sets students on an individualized pathway to work on particular skills that they may need to strengthen. We also have many formative assessments in phonics, such as our Foundations Unit assessments, and many diagnostic assessments used by our literacy coaches in order to figure out whether or not students are progressing as we expect, and to determine what other additional support they might need. So all of the data that we collect, I think our phonics and foundational skills instruction is more data-driven than it's ever been. Students also receive reading and writing instruction in our core curriculum, units of study. So students are taught to read and write a variety of text types and genres and learn the skills necessary for them to read and write increasingly complex texts. Important to note, many of our teachers are using the updated version of units of study, which are much more aligned to the science of reading and the neuroscience. And we've really strengthened our ability to help students take the foundational skills they're learning in their systematic instruction into the workshops. So, for example, the use of decodable text or controlled text that students can read in the workshop that helps them apply those phonics strategies while also reading. But decodable texts have come a long way in the last few years, so there's wonderful texts on the market for students to enjoy while still developing their, that ability to crack the code and build their decoding skills and their fluency.
Because it's not something that comes naturally.
It is not something that comes naturally.
As you were saying.
Yes, so as Carmen was saying, we have to build those neural pathways, and so being able to read texts that are mapped to those specific phonics skills helps the brain actually create those pathways so students can become automatic with their reading. And so years ago, we didn't have, there weren't a lot of resources to be able to do that in the workshop, but there are many more now. So we're continuously just trying to improve our whole ecosystem of literacy, our MTSS model, to better meet the needs all students.
Just real quickly, you mentioned one of the things you mentioned a few times is we do explicitly teach phonics. That's a true thing in
Yes.
the Needham Public Schools. You also mentioned DIBELS. Can you explain to everyone what is DIBELS?
Yeah, so DIBELS is our early literacy screening tool, and students are assessed in kindergarten through third grade 3 times a year. And so each year has some different components that we assess, and it's everything from those phonemic awareness skills, can students hear the sounds in words, can they manipulate sounds in words, up through, phonics skills and even comprehension through like cloze activities. So it screens students to sort of see, are they on track, making progress in these very critical early skills so that they can become successful readers, or are there some cracks, some areas of weakness that we need to shore up. It also highlights areas that could be markers for dyslexia or other issues. That's why I call it a screener.
Okay.
They're not benchmarks, they're screeners to help us ensure that students that risk is minimal, they're on track.
And we're using that data, our teachers are using that data, our instructional coaches are using
Yes.
that data to help individual students and all of our students to
Yes.
move forward. So there's a lot of work going on at the elementary level. That's a lot of work for our classroom teachers. I'm wondering, Dr. Williams, if you can tell us, despite all of our efforts, there are still some students who may lag behind. Do we have gaps in our reading in the Needham Public Schools? What is that? What are they, and how are we trying to address them?
We do. And so in looking at our MCAS data, in 3rd through 8th grade, we have about 68% of our students are meeting or exceeding expectations, which is well above the state, which is only at 40%. And while that is something to celebrate, our students that are most marginalized, meaning our students that fall into the category of high needs or special education, low income, our African American students, are averaging about 30%.
30% proficient.
Yes.
Meeting expectations.
Yes.
So 70% not meeting expectations.
Correct. So we do see a significant gap for students who have typically experienced a gap. We have not done enough yet to close those opportunity and achievement gaps for those students. And so this exploration, intentional, and looking at our curriculum is not because it's a fad, but it's because we have our own goals to support each student, to have equitable instruction and outcomes for our students. So our work is not done.
Yeah. So we're Needham. I mean, nationally, there's a conversation about the science of reading.
Absolutely.
And what's the best program, and certainly the state has talked about that. Here in Needham, we're looking at what we're doing, and also concerned about those gaps
Yes.
for our students, particularly in the 3rd grade, which is a critical year, so that we can narrow those gaps and improve upon that. Lisa, a little while ago, you started with the instructional coaches and principals an assessment, a study of our curriculum, and we now have embarked upon a pilot with 4 different programs. Can you briefly describe what those 4 programs are?
Yes. So 3 years ago, actually, we started narrowing down the list of options and we presented staff with 6 different programs that in order to pilot, and 4 were selected. So we have the ARC program, which is a knowledge building curriculum program, the American Reading Company, and we're piloting that curriculum at 1st and 4th grade. We have Benchmark Advance, which is another knowledge building content area literacy program that we are piloting at 2nd and 3rd grade. We have Collaborative Classroom, which is a genre-based study for readers and writers, and we are piloting that at grades 1, 2, and 4. And then we have the revised units of study, which just came out this past year, that we are piloting in. Each grade has teachers who are piloting that curriculum because we really wanted to make sure that teachers had the most updated materials. And as I said, the new version is much more aligned with the science of reading. So if we were going to pilot that, we wanted teachers to have access to that. So those are the 4 that we're looking at, and we're collecting data and looking at student work and it's a pretty robust review of these 4 curriculum that we're going through this year.
And we're looking at all that during the course of this year to decide if there is a path that we want to take, either what we have, I shouldn't say have been doing because the program has changed, but perhaps using similar materials or going in a new direction altogether. Right. And I know our budget process will be aligned with providing the resources we need for whatever path we choose. If parents want to get more information, are we providing an opportunity for them to be engaged and learn more about what we're doing?
Yes, Lisa and her team are providing a January 28th evening forum for the community to come out and kind of just take a gallery walk, if you will, of our materials. Parents won't have an opportunity to see a lesson being taught or participate in that way, but just to understand the materials that are offered at the current time and hear from teachers how the pilot is going. That will be the opportunity on the 28th.
Okay, that's great. Well, it sounds like both of you and our teachers and principals, over 100 are involved in this pilot, I believe, are focused on literacy, which is certainly a key program for us. We are piloting 4 different programs to see which one is going to suit us and our learners best. And there's more information forthcoming, both in the upcoming budget conversations and on January 28th at Broadmeadow, I believe, right?
Yes, Broadmeadow,
at
6:30.
7 p.m., 6:30?
6:30.
6:30 p.m., where families can learn more. Lisa and Carmen, thank you very much for this information.
Thanks for having us.